innovative strategies, utilize investments to promote economic growth, and to meet many, many challenges that are out there. Of course, some of these challenges are not unique to Kingston, but every community has its own dynamic, and I think this is why this profile will be of great interest to the people here in this community. The city has embraced its role as a destination and is home to historic buildings, a maritime museum, parks, art galleries, and a wide variety of small businesses, some of which I've had the chance, including this morning, to visit and be part of. And we are going to take a walking tour after this event. Kingston's economic revitalization and climate resiliency efforts include investments in infrastructure, its institutions, and in local amenities. Kingston has promoted its status as a regional destination, and that really has been evolving over recent years for arts, for culture, for history. And we point this out there, arts, culture, and history, right there. They told me to point to the posters, so we put a lot of work in these posters. That being said, the city still faces challenges, including housing affordability and, no surprise, something we're all dealing with these days, budgetary challenges, budgetary constraints. So this report means to drill down and look a little more in depth at some of these issues and really highlight some of these initiatives as well. On the economic development front, Kingston has prioritized a number of projects to promote growth and prosperity. These include the redevelopment of the Roundout Waterfront District, with walking and biking trails connecting neighborhoods, businesses, and parks along the Roundout Creek and Hudson River. This project was awarded $22 million in federal funding in June of 2023. The city has also partnered with the Kingston Land Trust in Ulster County to develop the 20-mile Kingston Green Line Trail System, which will promote bicycling and other recreational activities and revitalize certain sections of the city. And the Kingston Center at SUNY Ulster, which converted an unused elementary school building into a branch of the community college, allows students additional access to college-level classes and provides space for basic training for local law enforcement. The city has also tackled several climate resilience projects, including elevation of 2 sections of East Strand Street to protect it from Hudson River flooding. The project used $1.5 million in federal funding. There, I think. Kingston's also invested $6 million in state funding to shore up part of the Roundout Creek bulkhead. We have issued in our shop with our budget and policy group a number of studies and analysis on the issue of housing in New York. It's obviously a big issue in every community. And this is certainly one of the main focus areas in this report. Kingston's median home value, $279,900 in 2023, that's the most recent data we have, was higher than that of cities statewide, although lower than those of all mid-Hudson cities and the state as a whole. Between 2018 and 2023, median home values in Kingston increased by 63.7%, almost twice the state rate of 33.3%. I mean, it's quite remarkable, and really speaks to how people are viewing this as a place to live and as a special community. I think over close to 64% increase in home values compared to the state rate of about 33% in growth. This period included a surge in home sales and home sale prices during the first 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. You've been very welcoming to some of the newcomers from downstate that chose to come up here. Median rent for Kingston increased by 25.5% from 2018 to 2023, and the city's share of cost-burdened renters is higher than most other cities in the state. And this data excludes New York City, which obviously would skew it in a very different direction. With over 57% of renters paying more than 30% of their household income on rent. That 30% figure of household income being spent on housing, that's where, looking at federal definitions, you identify a household as being rent burdened. So that's a significant number, and I know something that the city administration, certainly the mayor, have been very well aware of, and have been using many strategies to try to address it. The strategies are multi-pronged in terms of dealing with the housing affordability question. In July of 2022, the Kingston Common Council issued a declaration of emergency to adopt rent stabilization as set forth in state law, which allowed the city to regulate rent for non-rent controlled apartment buildings built before 1974. 4 with 6 units or more. In 2023, Kingston adopted a new zoning code, Kingston Forward, that introduced new incentives for affordable housing, facilitated adaptive reuse of existing buildings, and encouraged walkable neighborhoods. Mayor and I were talking about that walkability question this morning. In 2024, this initiative won 2 awards for innovative zoning codes. The city was also one of the first municipalities outside of New York City to exempt from property taxes certain newly constructed or converted rental housing. Another area we looked at was the city's budget and debt. From 2013 to 2023, Kingston's available general fund balance grew substantially. By 2023, it stood at $12.3 million and represented 22.6% of gross expenditures, which was higher than other cities statewide, as well as for those upstate and mid-Hudson cities as well. Still, even with that healthy balance, Kingston's budget has come under pressure in recent years, no different than cities and communities all across our state. In both 2024 and 2025, the city used part of its general fund balance to stabilize the budget of $1.9 and $2.9 million respectively. In addition, after staying under the tax cap for 9 straight years, the city overrode the cap as it prepared its 2025 budget. This allowed Kingston to increase its tax levy and balance the budget. Kingston had $68.8 million in debt outstanding at the end of 2023, up from $33.6 million in 2013. From 2018 to 2023, debt outstanding increased 11%, a little over 11% per year, mostly the result of authorizing bonds to fund improvements to its wastewater treatment plant. Kingston also undertook major compliance improvements to the Cooper Lake Reservoir, which supplies residents with drinking water. Through 2024, debt was also issued for improvements to the Kingston Library and the Deet Stadium, which we've heard a lot about recently, right? The city's 2023 debt burden per capita was $2,874, which was higher than the aggregate per capita for cities statewide, but its debt as a percentage of full property value was 2.9%, virtually the same as the median for all cities in New York State. Now, my office closely examines fiscal stress, and we try to help communities by identifying red flags that may indicate serious fiscal problems or issues. So we have our fiscal stress monitoring system that began in 2013. This monitoring system uses a variety of metrics to determine whether a local government or school district will fall into a level of fiscal stress. And so there's scoring using objective criteria. Depending on your score, there are 3 different levels of stress. What's significant, especially in the context of some of those numbers I just threw at you, is that, to its credit, Kingston has never fallen into a fiscal stress designation. I'm going to say that again, because it's not true for all the communities in our state. Kingston has never fallen into a fiscal stress designation. How about a round of applause? So while the city's finances have been relatively stable, effectively managing budget pressures and making sustainable investments that I know are important to the administration in infrastructure and services will be key to Kingston's continued long-term fiscal health. We'll certainly continue to share information, collaborate in any way that we can with city officials to support the continued strong budgetary situation that you have here in Kingston. And I just want to say, and I'm going to call the mayor in a moment, what I think is so important is that the kinds of budget choices and debt choices that the city is making are all part of a very thoughtful plan to really build for the future. And to recognize that if very thoughtful plans, in fact, are going to become reality and going to be implemented, you do have to make the investment. And when the investment is done properly and managed properly, the kind of return on that investment in terms of enhanced quality of life, in terms of economic improvement, in terms of a great synergy. I mean, you just look at ways in which state grant, including downtown revitalization grant, federal grants that I alluded to, how the city has leveraged that in a way, support from the county, I might add. The multiplier effect of these investments, whether that's bringing in dollars from outside, from the county, from the federal government, the state, and then the investment that follows from the private sector when they see great things happening as far as growth and development. That makes for a successful community. And that's really what I perceive as happening in Kingston. And with that in mind, I do want to bring up Mayor Steve Noble. I've had the privilege to get to know him over the years. To me, he is an example of exactly what a mayor should be. He cares, he's smart, born and bred Kingston, worked in the city before he became mayor, and he is a leader with a vision. And a lot of leaders have vision out there, but not every leader knows how to turn a vision into a reality. And what I admire about Mayor Noble is he recognizes a lot of good work was happening before he became mayor, but he took the reins of leadership and has been taking it to the next level. And just seeing what's been happening in Kingston over his tenure, to see a reality happening, the kind of investments that are making a difference, with a strong fiscal stewardship that he certainly stands for, it really is impressive. And especially when I see how the DRI was leveraged so effectively here. And yesterday I was in Glens Falls, and we had a similar positive story about what's happening there and how they utilize their DRI and how the multiplier effect was there. That's what we're seeing in Kingston. But you need a thoughtful leader to keep it all together. And he's doing a great job. He's in his third term. I can't believe it. I feel like he was just starting. And when we were chatting this morning, he told me one of his other milestones is that, was it 450 weddings you presided over? 450 weddings. I mean, this is a man who embraces romance as well. You think we're going to check the next research report, see if there's any other mayor who's presided over anywhere near 450 weddings in the state of New York. So without further delay, he's going to offer some comments and acknowledge some of the local folks who are here as well. It really is a privilege, and I really appreciate his hosting us today. The great mayor of the great city of Kingston, Mayor Steve Noble.